Hello, everyone. Welcome to Women Seeking Wholeness. We're at episode 196, and we are inching very, very closely to the 200th episode, at which I will be changing the name of this podcast. So that is yet to be revealed on December 28th. But I'm just grateful you're here. And I know I have a lot of loyal listeners. They message me, they reach out, and it just always warms my heart. Also to see those positive reviews on iTunes, it really helps to bolster our visibility so more people can receive these empowering messages. And especially moving into 2023, I am getting uber intentional about empowerment, healing, and just allowing you to be in the space to be yourself, to express yourself, and giving you the permission to do that. But what I want to talk about today, again, coming back to being embodied, I know I talk about it all the time, but I once heard a really apt description, I felt like, for what an artist is, and that is someone who's embodied. So when we talk about doing your art, whatever form that's in, whatever medium you feel to express it, I want to pose some questions to you. And I got some of this stuff, a lot of this material actually, from someone named Matt Kahn, Kahn. If you haven't followed him, I would suggest it. He is, I believe, a very humble and effective thought leader in the spiritual realm. Every once in a while, I dip in to some of his teachings and do some of his trainings that he has for like limited time. And one of them was about our art and about stepping beyond fear and what fear actually is when it comes to our creativity. So one of the things he asked, and I'll kind of add on to what he asked, but he asked, what if you believed that your words could not hurt another? It was not possible to hurt another as you expressed your truth. That you can only win and never lose, that you're not going to miss out, that you haven't missed your window, that you're not going to do the wrong thing, but that when you are truly embodied as an artist in your art form, you can't lose. You can't hurt someone else. You're not going to miss out. It's not possible to do the wrong thing because you're truly embodied in your art form. So how would your life be different if your belief was rooted in every fiber of your being, to use that oft repeated phrase, that you can't get it wrong? You're guided from an evolutionary standpoint by the universe, by your soul, by source, creator, God, however you define that. And that the reason that you have the desire to express this art is because the world needs it right now. Letting go of the ego, like even the spiritual ego of this inner artist that kind of wrestles with like, oh gosh, we have this emotional attachment to how it's going to be received for good reason, because historically people have been burned or marginalized or killed for expressing their truth as they see it, as they know it in their own art form. But really, these creative blocks that we carry are really paralleling the amount of indecisiveness that we hold. So we are blocked to the level that we're holding back. So these fears that we carry of our creativity, of our art form not being good enough, is obstructing the flow of creativity. Creativity is not structured. It's messy. If you think about how babies are born, if you think about how worlds are created, everything's messy. It's explosive. It's literally bloody. And so in this non-linear way, there's this alchemy that's happening with our art form inside of us. Is it going to ferment into fear, this artist's way, I guess I could say, that wants to express through me? Is it going to be cathartic to my pain? Is it going to heal parts of me? Yes, when it's expressed. If not, it ferments as fear. It cements as fear. So sometimes we're afraid of fear. And that's where it gets a little dicey. We have to learn to step beyond the fear. Fear is not against you. Its job from an ego standpoint is to deconstruct inner perfectionism, which is a huge artistic block. And it doesn't discriminate. It's just a vibrational pattern. It's just an energy. Passion has its own energy pattern, its own vibrational signature in your body. And this inner perfectionist is the part of us that's most afraid of fear. It's like, oh gosh, how are people going to receive this? What are they going to think of me? And so all these decisions are based in being right, conforming, instead of like, oh, I don't know that I have what it takes to confront the fear, the shadow, the pain, the loss, this displacement. But this is what life is about. Life is about managing fear. And we get into these people-pleasing patterns. I guess I could speak from my own standpoint, like the fear of being too much, or like, who does she think she is? Why is she talking about this? Whose authority does she, we're so used to deferring our authority and pleasing people. And at some point, that will impede the inner artist to the degree that we become paralyzed. So the idea is to circulate more energy, to release this pain and this fermented passion is what Matt Kahn calls it. He calls it a fermented passion. So it's still alive in you, but it's been fermented and because of the fear, right? And so it needs to be released. So facing whatever you're afraid of does not actually get to the center of fear. This is what's interesting to me. You move the energy of passion and the passion actually breaks that energy up. Because we're so afraid of fear, we're afraid to face it, and that's why it stays stuck. But really the antidote for getting that fear out of us and getting to the middle or the center of the fear is to move the energy of our passion through us. This artist in us that wants to create, when we give it that expression, then that's what moves up those fear patterns and moves them away and releases them. The idea, according to my understanding, of really getting into the middle of your art and just playing in it and letting it flow. And believe me, you guys, I'm in this because I have a lot of projects happening right now. Most notably, my book that I've been working on, it's kind of more of a soul memoir, and I've been working on it pretty regularly for the last couple of years, but I took the whole summer and most of the fall off with the intention that in 2023, I would climb right back in. So here I am ready to roll up my sleeves and walk my talk here. But from what I have lived through this creative process and what I have coached people through and listened to and read about and done multiple trainings on how we let this inner artist or self-expression just flow, that there has to be a marriage between the mind and the heart. I've talked about this before too, about mind-heart coherence, almost like this holy matrimony of unity consciousness, the reigniting of your passion so that your inner artist is seen, heard, felt, and acknowledged. And Matt Kahn calls this a perceptual mirror. It's about how much your inner artist has permission to express authentically. It's not about how many people see and validate you. That's all ego. But for you, your inner artist, you know what's authentic to you and what is not. And in saying that, I really need to add this caveat. Like, sometimes we're so programmed with people pleasing and outsourcing our authority that we don't have access to our authenticity. We've got to dig through and find it. And it is the passion of our art that allows that to come out. On any given day, a certain percentage of you is aligned in passion or in fear. Fear is merely repressed passion. The divine feminine in you, for you women and men, this is not gender specific, the feminine in us is our inner artist. The masculine is the rational mind, the analyzer. So it's almost like she wants to be let out in equal measure to this rational mind. If you've listened to my past solo episodes, I teach something called a creation compass, which is a north, south, east, west sort of 4-quadranted give-receive model where love is due north. It's way up top at north. Power is due south. And then give and receive are on opposite sides of the east-west quadrants. So our whole flow in life or alignment pattern ideally is about having equal amounts of receiving and giving so that we're not too heavy in the giving side or too stuck in the receive side. The receive being the feminine, the give being the masculine, receiving always being preparatory to giving. We're not good to anyone if we're stuck in an overgiving pattern and we haven't fueled up or filled ourselves up first to receive love and power. As I was listening to Matt Kahn teach this whole thing about like passion and fear being repressed passion, I was thinking in my mind that we let this energy of passion sort of play in us and then have some way to let it out like multiple times a day. And that doesn't mean like structured artwork necessarily as much as it is play and flow and dance breaks and nature breaks and getting out of the mind so that we're not too mind heavy. Our mind is our genius point. And it's important that we do have self-analysis, But the artist is heart-based. It's all about the self-expression. And so when we are in that mind-heart coherence, we're letting the genius play with the heart. We're letting the mind play with the artist. The affirmation that Matt offered in this was, now I am free to be seen, heard, received, and validated, and valued through and for my words, choices, and creations. So I'll say it again. Now I'm free to be seen, heard, received, and validated, and valued through and for my words, choices, and creations. Trauma comes up a lot in my interviews, but most especially when I did a solo episode on trauma and how, like, am I going crazy? Am I waking up? I follow Dr. Gabor Mate pretty closely, and he talks about trauma, like his definition of trauma, and he's one of the foremost experts in addiction and trauma. You can Google him and see cool stuff on YouTube. But he talks about trauma being a moment in time where we didn't have the capacity to make a choice. In some way, we were usurped over, where we didn't have the capacity, skill, or wherewithal to be able to advocate for ourselves. And so our authenticity got shelved. And I'm really paraphrasing it here. He does entire trainings on this. But essentially, our real and deep trauma, our most potent trauma, is our repressed authenticity. So when I started this discussion talking about an artist as one who is embodied and they are doing their art, they don't believe that their words can hurt. They're truly embodied, right? And we're rooted in not being able to get it wrong and not caring what people think and kind of putting the ego to the side and just letting it flow. That's when the magic truly happens. That's your gift to the world. That's your soul calling and path. Really, it boils down to connection over conformity. Such a loaded phrase. We need, as human beings, we are designed intelligently for connection. Connection within through like nerve cells and cellular functioning in general, but connection to our soul, connection to the universe, connection to each other. And our art breeds connection. Whatever art form is living in you and is like your passion is about connection in some way, shape, or form as a gift to others and to yourself and to your creator, however you define that. So connection over conformity looks like, hey, ego, appreciate your role in my life. I know that you have to this point kept me safe in many regards, but you're simply a pattern. You're simply an energy running through me. And I want my vibrational pattern and signature to be passionate. I want to quiet that inner perfectionist that's holding me back, that's afraid of fear. And I'm choosing through my words, my choices, and my creativity, my creations, to let that inner artist express. I know it's easier said than done, all these things. They're very, they're very theoretical. They can be very esoteric. I think, though, that it's really important to make that connection to what actually breeds fear. I have a whole hypothesis on this about, depression being repression and oppression, the lack of expression. When you depress, you're literally pressing part of you down. And if fear is repressed passion, to me, that is depression. There really are only two states in your body, right? Fear or love. And they're all very spectrumed. So there's many states, there's a wide variety of states in between those two. But really, we're trying to take ourselves out of paralysis and go into flow. Melting fear into re-expressed passion. Melting fear. Breaking up that pattern, that energy pattern that lives in us that's metastasized into a pattern that really does want to be broken up through passion. Going back to what I was saying about like the mind and heart coherence and that marriage between these two, the holy matrimony of unity consciousness, that is your gift. Whatever art form is living in you that wants to be seen, heard, felt, acknowledged, and all those things, it really is about your gift to humanity. And I would say even before your gift to humanity, your gift to yourself, your gift to life, the universe, God, but it's for you. And that's probably the corner I turned with my book writing, especially with it being memoir-based with research sprinkled in, kind of a hybrid of research and my own story of taking back my power and reclaiming my inner authority and all of the stuff with the Magdalene that I've experienced and how I've had this really slow awakening to different aspects of my power and how I receive and give love. I've really come to realize that this book is for me. As much as I want it circulated, as much as I want it to help people in their own path of evolution and healing and empowerment, I am writing this for myself and enjoying that process now about just allowing that to live in me, that authenticity of like, oh, this is the gift to me, using words, expressing myself authentically in ways that are a gift to my own soul. So I hope that this can help any of you who might be having a wrestle with conformity or inner authority or letting the cat out of the bag or just speaking your truth, whatever it might be, wherever you're sitting and like you wanting to express yourself and feeling some limitation. As we approach these holidays now with this gift that you give to yourself of moving the energy of passion through your words, choices, and creations, the artist in you, letting her or him out. So have a glorious, beautiful week. Remember to follow me, Cherie.Burton, Instagram, as well as ask to join our private Facebook group, Women Seeking Wholeness.